Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm going to be doing a Yubel deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because we finally have a full-fledged Yubel archetype, which is so exciting, and it has one of the best super poly targets ever created in this deck. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Spirit of Yubel. This card is so important for the deck and a definite 3 of in the build. It cannot be destroyed by battle, and also you take no battle damage from battles involving this card, and if it's destroyed, you can special summon a Yubel that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard, so basically from anywhere, which is an absolutely crazy effect. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is special summoned, you can add to your hand or set a spell or trap from your deck that mentions Yubel, which we have a bunch of different cards that we can get to with this card's ability. We then play a single copy of the original Yubel. You can recycle through this card extremely easily with your copy of Spirit of Yubel, which is why we just play this card as a one-of. We then play a single copy of Yubel Terror Incarnate. This card is really good as a one-of in the deck just to be able to summon out off your copy of Yubel's ability, and this card is just absolutely crazy. We then play a single copy of Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare. You can easily make this card in the deck, and it helps you just go into your opponent and just win the game, because this card is a crazy powerful effect. It cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage from battles involving this card, and at the end of the damage step, if this face-up card is in attack position, battles an opponent's monster, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of your opponent's monster, then destroy that monster, making it super easy to deal with opponent's monsters and also do a lot of burn damage to your opponent, which is really nice. But also it's really cool to be able to slowly upgrade into your copy of Ultimate Nightmare. We then play 3 copies of Samsara D Lotus. This card is one of the best starters in the entire deck, because this card has the ability that you can tribute this card to special summon a Yubel monster from your deck, and during your main phase, during your opponent's turn, when a monster effect is activated, while you control a Yubel monster quick effect, you can tribute this card, and the activated effect becomes destroy a Yubel monster on the field, which is a really cool ability to use with this card, so that you can destroy Yubel, so you can summon Terra Incarnate, and then destroy Terra Incarnate, so you can summon out Ultimate Nightmare, which is just really cool. Also, during your end phase, if you control Yubel and this card's in the graveyard, you can add this card back to your hand or special summon it, which is great to be able to put this card back on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Dark Beckoning Beast. Dark Beckoning Beast is great in this deck as a 2-of, because it has the ability, when this card is normal summon, you can add a card that mentions a Sacred Beast monster in its text from your deck to your hand, which you're always going to be searching from your deck to your hand, opening of the Spirit Gates, which is a very important card to be able to grab from your deck to your hand. But the main reason that you play this card is during your main phase, you can actually normal summon a Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense, in addition to your normal summoner set, which is great to be able to do because you can summon out your copy of Samsara D Lotus or any of your other Yubel cards, because they do have 0 attack and defense, besides your copy of your Terror Incarnate and Ultimate Nightmare, because they have to be special summoned off their effects. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide from the Underworld is really cool as a 3-of in the build, because you can normal summon this card out to your side of the field, and then special summon a level 3 Fiend monster from your hand or deck, which is really good to be able to put your copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior on your side of the field, because this card is a foolish burial when it touches the graveyard. This is just a really helpful engine in the deck to have a great normal summon in the build. We then play a single copy of Unchained Soul of Shavara. Shavara is really good in the deck as a 1-of, because this card has the ability during the main phase, if this card's in your hand, quick effect, you can target a Fiend monster or a face down card that you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. So basically it lets you pop your copy of your Yubel cards so that you can upgrade through them, or even pop Spirit of Yubel, which is a pretty cool ability. But while this card's in the monster zone, you cannot special summon except Fiend monsters, which is not that big of a deal. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can set an Unchained spell or trap directly from your deck, which is a really cool ability. We then play a single copy of Shayama. Shayama is just really good to be able to send to the graveyard off your copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. And this card is really good because it can come back out of the grave by targeting one card that you control, you can destroy it, and then if you destroyed it, you can destroy a spell or trap on the field, which is a pretty cool effect to be able to pop your Yubel cards, but it also helps get an additional monster on the field. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-up just to basically stop your opponent from touching the deck. It's just a really good hand trap. We then play 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. Dimension Shifter is great in this deck as a 3-up because you don't really care where your copy of Yubel is. As long as it does get popped, it goes off, making it so you can actually play Shifter. And sometimes this card is an auto win depending on what deck you're playing against. So this card is really good as a tech card in the build because we really don't care about the graveyard all that much. You do have a couple of cards in the deck that you do want to go to the graveyard, but since it hurts the opponent a lot more than it hurts us, makes this card a definite 3-up in the build. We then play 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is just insane in this format. It's a really good card to break your opponent's board, plus it gives your opponent a really big token that you can do a lot of damage with, which is really awesome in this deck because of Yubel's abilities. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates. Opening of the Spirit Gates is a really cool 2-of in the build. Because when this card is activated, you can add a copy of a Sacred Beast monster or a monster that mentions that card from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool effect to be able to use with our copy of our Dark Beckoning Beast, which is a really cool effect to be able to use this card. And this is actually the card that you search off your copy of your Dark Beckoning Beast all the time. And this card also has a really cool ability that once per turn, you can discard a card to special summon a Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your graveyard to your side of the field, which works with our Yubel cards, which is just really nice to be able to use in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is great in this deck as a 3-of because it just helps us dig into the deck and helps you out a lot in this build. This card is super helpful in the deck and just is a great card to dig into the deck because we don't need everything in the extra deck. We then play 3 copies of Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. This card is so important for the build and has the ability that during your main phase, you can destroy a dark monster in your hand or face up from your field, and if you do, add a Yubel or a card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a really insane ability. And then when you control a copy of Yubel monster, your opponent's monsters that attack must attack Yubel monsters, and your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving your Yubel monsters, which is a really insane effect. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is definitely a 3-of in the build because it helps us go in for a copy of Yubel the Loving Defender, which is such an awesome boss monster to be able to summon in the deck because you can basically just deal with your opponent's entire field with Super Polymerization and a Yubel on the field, which is just absolutely crazy. This card is basically the entire deck and is so important for this build. So that is it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Eternal Favorite. Eternal Favorite is really cool as a 1-of in the build, and this card helps out a lot, as once per turn you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. That you can special summon one of your Yubel monsters that's banished or in your graveyard, and neither player can activate cards or effects when that monster is special summoned, or if you control Yubel, you can discard a card and then send this card to the graveyard, and then fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra using monsters from either player's field as material, including a Yubel monster, meaning this card is Super Polymerization, helping you go in for your copy of Yubel the Loving Defender forever, which is super cool. We then play a single copy of Escape of the Unchained. Escape of the Unchained is really good as a 1-of in this deck because it is searchable in the build, and it's a really good 1-of to be able to set to your side of the field. It lets you target an Unchained monster that you control and a card on the field and destroy both, which can be really cool in this deck. And it also has the ability, if the set card is destroyed by a card effect, then you can special summon an Unchained monster from your deck, which is a pretty cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is definitely a 3-of in the build just to basically stop your opponent's monster effects and lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. This card is an amazing super poly target and is our main boss monster that is ridiculously easy to summon to our side of the field. It takes a Yubel monster plus 1+ effect monsters on the field, meaning you can't super poly away the entire field plus a copy of Yubel to make this card, which is usually what you're doing. And if this card is fusion summoned, you can inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent for each material used for this card summon, meaning you're going to do a lot of burn damage to your opponent when you summon this card out to your side of the field. It cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card, and at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal that opponent's monster's attack, and if you do, banish that monster, which is a really insane ability just to deal with your opponent's cards on their side of the field, do burn damage to your opponent, and have a crazy powerful card on the field. A lot of decks just don't have an out for this, so once you summon it out to your side of the field, you're probably going to win. We then play a single copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which is a really awesome super poly target. We then play a single copy of Dracostapelia. This card is a walking negate. Play a single copy of Garua and a single copy of Mud Dragon. These are all super poly targets, which is super cool about this deck, that you actually have so many different super poly targets in this build, and it's very easy to just break your opponent's board. We then play a single copy of Wave High King Caesar, because you can make this card every so often as a double negate, which is really nice. One copy of Typhon. Typhon is insane in this build as a 1-up because you can make it so easily in the deck. It's just a really good card overall. You play a single copy of Unchained Abomination. It's very easy to link climb into this card to be able to pop basically 3 cards a turn, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. One copy of Unchained Soul, Lord of Yama. Yama is really good in the deck as a 1-up because if this card is special summon, you can add an Unchained monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, meaning you can basically use this card to be able to grab your copy of Shavara directly from your deck to your hand. And once you send your copy of Phoenix Rhino Warrior to the graveyard, you can get something like a copy of Shayama to the graveyard, so you can go in for your copy of your Wave King, which is just really nice. We then play a single copy of Unchained Soul of Rage to be able to deal with your opponent's field. You can link climb with this card, which is really nice to be able to do. We play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Phoenix is great to be able to pop spells and traps on the field. And then finally play a single copy of Mudracker. Mudracker is just really good in the deck because it can bring back fiend monsters from the graveyard. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have not played Yubel yet, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's going to be absolutely crazy once we get the next set. But right now, it's just basically Super Poly is us, which is super cool to be able to do. And you just basically deal with your opponent's field and just fuse everything away, which is so cool. I absolutely love this deck. It's really fun to be able to play, and I love the Yubel boss monster. It's just a really awesome card. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.